The sounds of the Hope Mill stream gurgled under the summer trees. Danielle Locker sat among her friends, her long hair falling over her shoulders, her smile radiant. To anyone who saw her, she was a 15-year-old who had it all: a loving family, excellent grades, a bright future, and a sweet first love. No one suspected that behind her smile lay the heavy burden of jealous texts and the suffocating control of Jamichael Malloy, the very person she deeply loved. Then, on the night of March 11, 2014, Danielle left her home to meet Jamichael, holding on to a final hope for their relationship. She didn't know she was walking into a deadly trap that had already been set. What terrible fate awaited her? Let's follow her story. In the summer of 2013, the North Carolina sky was a deep blue, with the early morning sun filtering through small streets where the aroma of baked goods mingled with the sound of church bells on Sundays. Danielle Locker grew up in this warm atmosphere, with a vibrant, emotional, and joyful personality that made everyone who met her fall in love with her brilliant smile. Every morning, the 15-year-old would busily prepare cookies for her children's Bible class, meticulously decorating them with frosting and colorful candies, turning the lesson into a sweet game. Danielle remembered every young face: 6-year-old Mary, who often forgot her books, and 8-year-old Tommy, who loved to draw angels. To her, caring for others was an act of natural kindness, stemming from an optimistic heart and a deep appreciation for life. This belief originated from a memory in the 7th grade, when Danielle rescued a discarded strawberry plant and nurtured it until it bloomed, a testament to her compassion, resilient will, and the conviction that everything deserved a chance to live. Her optimistic and kind heart also made it easy for her to adapt when she moved in with her grandparents. The afternoons she spent in the kitchen with her grandmother, Nana, with the scent of vanilla and the sound of laughter, nurtured her dream of becoming a chef and her positive outlook on life. However, that heart was also like a fragile pane of glass, easily shattered by a manipulative soul. And Jamichael Malloy was the embodiment of that manipulation. They first met at the Upper Room Church. At 17, Jamichael had grown up in Autryville. He projected the image of a perfect boy with stable grades, a disciplined spirit, and a promise to join the Navy. At school, teachers praised Jamichael for being calm and a good listener, and he would sometimes help friends with their homework or resolve conflicts. To outsiders, he seemed more mature than his age, spoke with restraint, and had a way of making people feel safe in his presence. His mature, slightly mysterious demeanor and the gentle sense of security he skillfully created drew Danielle to him. For Danielle, it was a rare connection. For Jamichael, her innocent smile was the moment he realized he had to possess that light at all costs. Their sweet relationship began with that look and that smile, but it was also the moment Danielle's compassionate light became bound to Jamichael's manipulative darkness. For the first few months, everything was full of care and attention, but gradually, small cracks began to appear so subtle that Danielle didn't notice. Jamichael became distant. His text replies were slower, their calls less frequent, and dates were canceled at the last minute for vague reasons. In the shadows of social media, he flirted with other girls, cleverly erasing all traces. And when they were together, arguments became more frequent and sharper, like thin knives carving a deeper gap between them. The red flags started to appear: systematically subtle, controlling behavior, asking seemingly innocent questions about who she was meeting and where she was going, baseless jealousy when Danielle spoke to a male friend, even about schoolwork, and a decrease in attention that was paired with a demand for constant reassurance from her, expressed by him getting upset if she didn't respond to his texts immediately. Jamichael also had a habit of checking Danielle's phone when she forgot it, always with a plausible excuse, like "I just wanted to check the time," or "I helped you turn off the ringer." These behaviors were cleverly disguised as love and concern, making them harder to recognize. Danielle, in her first love and teenage innocence, quickly forgave him for everything, convincing herself that it was just a rough phase of youth and the pressure of preparing for graduation. She was too immersed in the illusion of a perfect love to realize the danger lurking. Unaware that their relationship was slowly becoming a ticking time bomb with the potential for destruction. Sunday, March 9, 2014 marked a fateful turning point when J. Michael called Danielle to meet him alone near the church. The atmosphere was heavy from the moment she arrived. The declaration of a breakup was a stab to her heart. He said the relationship was going nowhere without much explanation. In a moment of desperation, Danielle blurted out a lie about being pregnant, hoping to keep him. J. Michael flew into a rage, threatening to harm her if she ever contacted him again. The argument erupted into a fierce exchange of sharp words and threats before Danielle left in tears. Over the next few days, she tried to find comfort by hanging out with her friends by the Hope Mill stream, a place that had been a sanctuary of relaxation with music and laughter among her peers. On Tuesday, March 11th, the girls took photos, posing in the warm afternoon sun, excitedly discussing an upcoming school beauty pageant. They encouraged Danielle to participate, complimenting her on her beauty and personality. The last photos captured Danielle's radiant smile among her friends, her eyes still sparkling with hope for the future. No one knew that in just a few hours, an irreversible tragedy would occur late that evening. Near 10 p.m., Danielle's phone buzzed with a text from J. Michael inviting her to meet by the stream to talk things over. Her heart pounded as she thought this was their last chance to reconcile. She lied to her grandfather about dropping off school materials with a classmate, taking her laptop to cover her tracks, and walked out the door with a promise to be home soon. Her last words to her family. J. Michael had meticulously prepared his dark plan. He installed a fake location app on his phone so his messages would appear to be sent from home. No matter where he was, technology serving a crime. Dominic Locke drove him to the Hope Mill stream, a peaceful place by day, but eerily dark at night, with dense trees and murky water under a faint moon. In the trunk were heavy concrete blocks and a rough rope that J. Michael had bought from a hardware store a few days earlier with the false excuse of helping his family with home repairs. He had carefully calculated the weight needed to ensure the body would sink to the bottom of the river and never resurface, even researching water density and other physical factors online. This was not an impulsive act, but a meticulously planned one, revealing the frightening coldness and calculation of a young killer. They met by the stream with Danielle arriving in a state of nervous hope for reconciliation. The initial words were gentle, an attempt to mend things, but then the argument erupted over the pregnancy lie, betrayal, and long-held jealousy. J. Michael completely lost control, grabbing Danielle by the neck and strangling her while she struggled in a panic, trying to scream but unable to. Her hands clawing hopelessly until her body went still. Dominic waited in the car, ready to help when J. Michael called. They put Danielle in the trunk. A sock fell into a bush during the transfer, unnoticed by either of them. They drove quickly to the South River near J. Michael's house, a secluded spot with fast-flowing water in the dark. They tied the concrete blocks tightly to her waist with the rope to ensure the body would sink deep and never resurface. A splash echoed in the night as the river swallowed all traces. J. Michael and Dominic drove away into the darkness as if nothing had happened. On the morning of March 12th, her grandfather woke up early as usual, made coffee, and checked Danielle's room only to find it empty. A sense of unease filled him, a premonition that something was wrong. As he realized his granddaughter hadn't come home from the night before, a call to her aunt, Chena, who was in Atlanta with her grandmother for a medical appointment, left her in shock, and she immediately arranged to return to North Carolina. On the way back, Chena called J. Michael to ask about Danielle. Receiving a suspiciously calm answer, he said he hadn't seen her, with no hint of concern in his voice. the Hope Mills police immediately launched an investigation, treating it as a high-priority missing person case. They interviewed her grandfather in detail and checked the house of the classmate Danielle had said she was visiting. There were no clues. The family created a Facebook page that attracted 12,000 followers in a few days. Danielle's smiling face was shared widely on social media with a plea for help. The Hope Mills community responded with an outpouring of support, with neighbors, friends, and even strangers joining the search, forming teams to scour every area, with a particular focus on the Hope Mills stream, a place Danielle loved, Aunt Chena. Remembering the Hope Mills stream, where Danielle had sent photos with her friends, went there and searched every bush and hidden corner along the water's edge. Then, she found a familiar sock of Danielle's in a bush dirty, but undeniably hers. Chena's heart ached as she immediately called the police with the first clue, suggesting Danielle had been there the night she went missing, not at her classmate's house. The police increased their presence with search dogs and professional teams, re-interviewing her friends. One person revealed that Danielle had recently broken up with Jim Michael and was very upset, making him the focus of the investigation. During an interrogation at the station, Jim Michael claimed he was at home with Dominic Locke on the night of March 11th, voluntarily handing over his phone to prove it. Jim Michael even participated in some of the searches, walking with the family and pretending to be concerned about new clues. This brazen behavior later prompted Aunt Chena to express her disgust that the suspected killer was walking with them as if he had done nothing. The FBI joined the case, elevating it to a national level. The media broadcast images of Danielle, with her mother tearfully appealing for help finding her daughter. 28 days passed with no significant progress. The family was physically and emotionally exhausted, with hope slowly fading. On April 2nd, a Cumberland County detective walking along the South River off-duty discovered something unusual. A body partially submerged in the water with a rope and concrete blocks tied to it. After pulling the body ashore and confirming it was almost certainly Danielle Locker based on her clothing and features, the autopsy confirmed she had died from strangulation on the night of March 11th and was not pregnant. The concrete and rope on the body were clear evidence of a deliberate disposal, devastating the family when they received the news and turning the case into a murder investigation. The discovery of the body turned the case into a high-level murder investigation, with J. Michael Malloy as the prime suspect due to his close relationship with the victim, a history of intense conflict, and the fact that the disposal site was not far from his home. The police obtained a search warrant from a Cumberland County judge, and a special task force arrived one morning to comb every corner of his house, garage, and car trunk. They found concrete blocks and rope identical to those used on Danielle's body in size and material, and immediately sent them to the forensic lab for DNA and fingerprint comparison. Jamichael was taken to the station for questioning in a closed room, his face pale as he insisted he had nothing to do with the incident. The interrogation lasted for hours, with the Cumberland County detective the one who found the body using sophisticated psychological techniques. He presented the evidence step by step, starting with the text messages about the pregnancy on his phone, then moving on to the fake location app that had been confirmed by a technology expert. The psychological pressure gradually increased as the detective pointed out inconsistencies in his statements and evidence showing he was not at home that night. Meanwhile, Dominic Locke was interrogated separately in the next room. At first, he refused to talk and demanded a lawyer with a tough attitude. The police were not discouraged and continued to hold him for a closer examination of his provided alibi. At the same time, forensic experts pushed forward with their analysis, making breakthroughs. Fingerprints on the concrete from Jamichael's house perfectly matched those found on the body, and DNA from the rope had traces of Danielle's skin. The FBI assisted with a deeper digital data analysis. identifying that the app on G. Michael's phone was used to hide his real location. With usage history pinpointed to the night of March 11th, text messages to other girls creating a fake alibi were exposed because the GPS location did not match his testimony. A search of Dominic's car yielded crucial physical evidence, traces of hair and fabric from Danielle's clothing in the trunk, which the prosecutor confirmed as undeniable physical evidence. Witnesses were also interviewed thoroughly, including J. Michael's neighbors, who confirmed seeing his car leave the house on the night of March 11th, contradicting his initial statement. Danielle's friends provided more details about the breakup argument and her unstable mental state afterward. Each piece of evidence was put in its place, creating a complete picture of the crime and its motive, 4 days after the discovery of the body. On April 6th, J. Michael finally broke down in the interrogation room. The detective, speaking in a tone like an old father, convinced him that telling the truth would lighten his conscience, reminding him he was young and shouldn't let this haunt him for the rest of his life. J. Michael sobbed and confessed everything, with details that perfectly matched the evidence collected. He described meeting Danielle by the stream to talk things out, how the argument escalated over the pregnancy lie, causing him to lose control and strangle her until she was unconscious. J. Michael claimed he had no intention of killing her, then stuffed a sock in her mouth to muffle her screams and called Dominic for help. They put the body in the car, drove to the South River, tied the concrete tightly to her, and threw her into the water. The confession was fully audio and video recorded, becoming undeniable evidence for the upcoming trial. On April 8th, J. Michael was officially arrested on a charge of second-degree murder, unplanned but intentional, with a motive stemming from a romantic conflict. Dominic Locke was charged as an accomplice for his role in driving the car and helping to dispose of the body. Both were held at the Cumberland County Detention Center without bail due to the serious nature of the crime. On April 9th, the formal arraignment took place in a preliminary court hearing, with the prosecutor presenting the case as an impulsive crime that was then meticulously covered up, with evidence from the confession, forensics, and digital data. In 2015, Dominic Locke decided to plead guilty to being an accessory to first-degree murder in Cumberland County Court, standing before the judge with a low voice to admit his mistake in helping his friend dispose of the body. His case was awaiting sentencing, with clear evidence of his role in the crime and his cooperation during the investigation. In 2016, on March 7th, the court began discussing a plea deal for J. Michael, with the possibility of parole after 25 years, if he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. The prosecutor argued that the defendant could have his sentence reduced if he cooperated fully, but the crime was too serious for complete leniency. The defense asked for time to carefully review the file, and the judge gave them 1 month to make a final decision. Danielle's family closely followed every development, with her mother declaring they wanted to see real justice served, not an easy agreement. 2 months later, J. Michael accepted the deal and pleaded guilty to second-degree murder at a tense hearing. The courtroom was packed, with Danielle's family on one side wearing pink ribbons in her memory, and J. Michael's mother on the other. The prosecutor presented the entire case in detail, from the argument by the stream, the instantaneous act of strangulation, the stuffing of the sock in her mouth, to the complex disposal process with Dominic using concrete and rope. Evidence was projected on a large screen, including crime scene photos, the body, text messages, and the full audio recording of the confession. J. Michael stood up with a shaky voice to apologize to Danielle's family, while his mother also offered a sincere apology with tears in her eyes. However, the victim's family was not easily forgiving. They spoke through their tears to express their anger and immense loss. Danielle's mother looked directly into the defendant's eyes and said he had torn her soul apart, that she would never see her daughter graduate, get married, or have children. She was her only child, and he had taken everything. Aunt Shana added that J. Michael had been welcomed into their home like family, but he had betrayed them in the worst way possible. The judge, after hearing arguments from both sides and carefully deliberating, sentenced J. Michael to 25 to 31 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 25 years if he showed good behavior. The following month, Dominic's sentencing took place, with him standing before the court to apologize directly to Danielle's mother for his grave mistake in helping his friend dispose of the body. The prosecutor emphasized his secondary but crucial role in driving the car and tying the concrete. Danielle's mother spoke painfully about having to see her daughter in a body bag at the funeral home because of his actions. The judge sentenced Dominic to 6 to 8 years in prison. Dominic Locke was released around 2024 after serving nearly 8.5 years in prison. Jamichael Malloy, the man who took Danielle's life, remains in the North Carolina prison system. Records show he has had 29 serious disciplinary infractions, from faking lock mechanisms and possessing weapons to participating in gang activities and assaulting and threatening staff, without change. His release date will be October the 6th, 2042, when he will be 43 years old. During his sentence, Jamichael once sent a letter to Danielle's mother, but she refused to open it, stating she did not want to hear anything from the killer. Danielle's family chose not to let their pain consume them. They turned the tragedy into a motivation to raise awareness about teen dating violence, actively participating in educational programs, and retelling Danielle's story as a warning. The statistics they mention are chilling. 1/3 of American high school girls have experienced dating violence. 7% of teen homicides are committed by an intimate partner, and 90% of victims are female. Danielle's mother often says at workshops, "Don't ask why the victim didn't leave. Ask why the abuser did it." She emphasizes the importance of recognizing early signs controlling where you go, who you see, excessive jealousy, isolating you from friends and family, checking your phone, and threatening you when you want to break up. In her grandmother's yard, the strawberry plant Danielle once saved in 7th grade is still thriving, blooming brightly every spring to the family. It is a living symbol of Danielle's life, short but full of love. Her love and compassion are still saving other lives. Every time a girl leaves a toxic relationship, or a family is reunited because they learned a lesson from this tragedy. On March 11, 2014, Danielle walked out the door with hope for love. She never returned. But her story continues to live on, not in the shadows of a crime, but in the light of lives saved. Jamichael Malloy took Danielle's life, but he could not take away her love for the world. That is a legacy no prison wall can contain. If you found this story thought-provoking and would like to continue following more in-depth case analyses, please like and subscribe the channel to show your support. Your likes and subscriptions help us continue to bring you these cautionary tales, so that no cry for help ever falls on deaf ears again.